I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting. Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this is brought to you, presented by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express.
You have a son, right, Tep?
Oh, here we go.
Fact. I do have a son.
You do?
That last I checked, I dropped him off at school this morning. We'll see what happens afterwards.
And you want him to be strong and healthy.
I want him to be a big, strong boy.
There's no better place to get a hearty meal than Chicken Express. I can promise you this. They don't only offer quick service, they will put meat on young Hank's bones, and he's going to grow up to be strong and healthy the more Chicken Express eats. I can promise you that.
Shout out Corn Nuggets.
Chicken Express. Feed it to your kid. It's Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete, for This Week in Recruiting. You doing okay over there, Pickle? A lot to get to today. Start with our prospect on the rise. Prospect on the rise, we're going out to the South Plains, to Lubbock-Cooper, to talk about their 2022 defensive end, Kyler Jordan. Kyler Jordan has committed to Baylor this week. He had offers from SMU, Texas Tech, UTSA, Arizona. He has decided to go to the Baylor Bears to play for Dave Aranda's Baylor squad. This is a guy who has no shortage of experience at the varsity level. He's a 4-year starter, and that's how they do it out there in Lubbock-Cooper. You think about Kobe McKenzie, another guy who was a long-time stalwart for that defense. Kyler Jordan, the next thing there for the Pirates.
Well, and I love his style of play. Like, I think you could give a description maybe of blue collar. You know, we have a great scouting report in the notebook this year about kind of what he brings to the table. He has experience, and you can see him like playing linebacker, chasing people around on his 2020 tape where you're like, wow, this dude's huge playing linebacker. He'll probably move down and spend a lot of time with his hand in the dirt at the next level. But his experience getting downhill, chasing after quarterbacks, making tackles behind the line of scrimmage on running backs is going to serve him well as he transitions to a Big 12 defense. And he plays downhill quickly. You know, I kind of compare him maybe favorably to Landon Watson, who was a 4-star in last year's cycle, who signed with TCU. Kyler Jordan brings a lot of those same skill sets to the table and has the strength up front to be, you know, to project as a guy who can take on offensive tackles and get off of blocks and do the traditional defensive end thing. But don't be surprised if he spends some time standing up and using that skill set to his advantage as well.
Yeah, most certainly. He's a guy to keep an eye on there, and you know, a good get for Baylor to pluck him out of Texas Tech's backyard to bring him to Waco. So Kyler Jordan, the defensive end from Lubbock-Cooper, our prospect on the rise. Let's now move on to our commit of the week. Could have been Kyler Jordan. We went with another defensive lineman. This one down in the Houston area, 2022 Galena Park North Shore defensive tackle Kristopher Ross has committed. He had offers from all over, including LSU, Oklahoma, Baylor, but he has committed to Texas, the 6'3", 265 defensive tackle. And this is a guy who strength is not an issue for Kristopher Ross. He is a beefy dude. He
is. And what I really, really like about Chris Ross is his strength and explosion kind of combination. You know, he's listed anywhere between 265 and 280 pounds on all the sites out there. He looks a little bit leaner to me on the tape, so maybe like if you middled that out and say he's, you know, 272 pounds. He's got long arms. He's versatile up front because he has a quick first step, but he's also powerful, which his numbers have been verified in the track program and in the weight room. So he's a guy who brings those key power numbers to the table when he enters the college strength and conditioning program already. And I think he could play really anywhere up front. He's projected as a defensive tackle, but I think because of his ability to create mismatches, you can slide him around that defensive front and just to make things happen. So I really like this pickup for the Texas Longhorns because he can bring different things to the table and kind of gets the ball rolling from them there underneath a new coaching staff that has some older names also still on staff there, but now they can start to say we're building it up in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball to continue on with what was a great 2021 class that features a number of top-tier defensive recruits.
Well, and one thing I'll just say about you know, Chris Ross and another guy that I think that, to speak more broadly about North Shore, one thing you never have to worry about with defenders at North Shore is motor. You never have to worry about them understanding the importance of effort and going full go through the whistle. And that's one thing that when I was watching his film, he goes. He does it. He doesn't. There's no stopping for him. He plays through the whistle, and that is, I think, a John Kay hallmark. That is a North Shore hallmark. That is one thing you never have to worry about with those Mustangs.
I agree with that 100%. Houston just seems to have a knack for creating great defensive linemen, whether it's at North Shore or Westfield or Katy. All three of those programs do a really good job. And Chris Ross checks in at number 65 in the DCTF rankings for this 2022 class, but picked Texas over Baylor, Oklahoma, and LSU. So he had major offers. So, I mean, this is a big get.
Most certainly. We're talking This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, the next level athlete here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Let's go from DFW, or rather from Houston, back up to DFW and talk about our underclassmen of the week. 2023 Lewisville defensive end Jordan Renaud is getting a bunch of offers right now, and he is getting major offer after major offer right now. The class of 2023 is pretty loaded. Jordan Renaud is a guy who is going to be that name. Just ask Auburn, who he picked up an offer from this week. He already has offers from A&M in Texas. He's got offers from Oklahoma, from Florida State. He's all over the place. This is a guy who transferred in from Florida. Transferred in from Florida, so it may be a new name for you, but a name you should familiarize yourself with immediately.
The gauntlet.
How about your Michael Odell?
Yeah.
And you wake up to the news or find out the news, hey, we've got a transfer in from Florida. Oh, who is it? Oh, it's this kid. His name's Jordan Renaud. He's 6'4", 250.
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, we'll find you a jersey.
I
It's
can
fine.
make
Yeah.
that work.
Yeah, we'll find you a jersey.
I'll have one of those. Yeah, that's nice. And, Lewisville is one of those teams that's always like a very hard hit. Like, Lewisville is one of those teams that, in my mind, I can never get away from. First off, they play in my favorite district.
Yeah.
I love watching, and I've said this multiple times, I love watching that district because it's not only competitive, but it seems like the teams just hate each other, right?
Yeah.
When they play each other, they hate each other. The games are always hard-hitting, and they're always, like, action-packed. Even if it's, like, 12-10, it's a game that you can appreciate, or if it's 45-38. They're always games that are fun to watch. And this kid, I mean, he took off after he moved to Texas. I mean, everybody started jumping on board when they were able to see what he was bringing to the table. And he's one of the most physically imposing guys that I've seen in some – you see these guys on social media who are blowing up a little bit because they have these great clips from their workout session or what – like he passes the eyeball test. And there's no surprise to see what he can do on the tape as well. On his tape from Florida, they had him playing inside, so we really haven't had a chance to see what he's bringing to the table as a defensive end or what he does, in Texas high school football. But I think sky's the limit. Jordan Raynaud is going to be one of these dudes who is a nationally known name, and everybody's going to step up and offer him. And you can see that starting to happen when he has Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Baylor, and now Auburn. I think, a month from now, he just basically has everybody.
Yeah, he's a guy certainly to keep an eye on. How he adjusts to playing here in Texas will certainly be something to keep an eye on. But the early returns on Jordan Renaud, the new Lewisville Fighting Farmer, are certainly promising. Finally, let's round it out with our Recruit of the Week. Our Recruit of the Week, let's go out east to Shelby County, to Tenaha, Texas. Nice. Let's talk small school football, a little 2A football. Let's talk about Jeremy Patton, the Tigers' do-it-all athlete, a guy certainly to keep an eye on because everyone else is keeping their eye on. He has offers. He just picked up an offer from Texas. He's got offers from Baylor, TCU, Tech, Michigan, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, all over the place. He now has 18 offers for a kid from this teensy little town in Tenaha. But this is small school, but big-time talent.
I think he might be the best player in 2A.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's my opinion.
Rod Rail's gone now, so it's hard to...
I'm running through some names, but yeah, he's got an argument for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And he's listed as an athlete because I really, honestly can't tell you what position fits Jeremy Patton the best. He really burst on my radar at the state 7-on-7 2 years ago playing wide receiver. and he showcased really strong hands. He had, for a bigger bodied guy, he ran really good routes. He could be a great running back, but I love his upside on defense. Is he a guy that, moves into the box to play linebacker and is just a tear? That's what I think his most high upside is, possibly, at that position. But Jeremy Patton is one of my favorite recruits in this class, and he has started to blow up, but he was like one of those guys I had my fingers crossed on, is like when we do sleeper notebooks and talk about guys who may be a little bit under the radar. Well, I mean, we can't say that anymore. I mean, he's not under the radar. Yeah. So he's just moving to the top of the list now.
Well, and he's a true, product of, what happens whenever you have an outstanding superstar like this at the 2A level, because Coach Robert Tamplin and company, they move him around. They'll line him up at running back. They will line him up at receiver. They'll throw the ball to him out of the backfield. And then, of course, he's a star on the defensive side as well. So, yeah, that versatility is really what makes him so special at the 2A level, and probably makes him so – I think that's why you're probably going to have – by the time it's all said and done, he's going to have offers from everywhere, because everyone's going to have their own idea of what they can do with him. Only one of them will get the shot to actually pull.
Well, and he's a great young man. We've dealt with him in the past, done different things with Tenaha and Jeremy Patton. He's really easy to talk to, and is a guy who's readily available and knows how to speak well, and fit, just puts a check mark in all the categories that you're looking for. The interesting thing is, as I was bouncing around, as you could do preparation for something like this, and noticed that Oklahoma State was, some of the picks on the early crystal ball for him. And I think now you have Texas and Oklahoma throwing their hat into the ring, that this just kind of blows the doors wide open potentially for Jeremy Patton, who has some really nice schools to consider. And congrats to you, young man, for getting all the attention.
Most certainly. Jeremy Patton, a star out there at Tenaha. Our star is Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at texasfootball.com/recruiting. Powers, appreciate your time, but don't go anywhere, because I need you to introduce the next segment.
Sounds good.
Let me do this.